weekend, and he did.
Yeah.
So, so, I mean, he did it right away as soon as because she asked like a random middle of the weekday.
Yeah.
And he's like, I will this weekend, and I'm, it's supposed to be nice, and he did, but it's still not, the fence is still.
Okie dokie.
She probably, she wishes her.
I really need another podium here. Okay, how are y'all? All right.
How are
So me? Oh, well, thank you for asking. I'm doing good.
Good.
I've been a little under the weather. Felt good today though. Tuesday,
Allergies?
Tuesday and Wednesday, and I like ate something on an empty stomach that like I thought I was gonna throw up Tuesday night. But it was just like bad. I think it was bad food. It was like one of those moments where you just had to like go and stand in the bathroom. You're like,
Just in case.
is it gonna happen? And I was like, okay. It was not a good night. I had a migraine, so I think that was feeding into the nausea. But anyways, I was probably more or less dehydrated.
You're like
and
one of us
allergies. Oil the girls. All right.
Don't say ladies
All right.
for names, but no.
Oh,
What happens when you hang out with us too much?
Oh, Nehemiah. Hey, that's all right. I was just telling someone that, like, my guy
It's gonna
friends.
be on the other side this time.
Oh yeah, I'm blocking Jackie this time because I don't have to. I can't remember why I plugged it up over here last time. There was a reason. I know there was. Oh, for the TV, but I don't have anything for the TV. I don't have anything for the TV today, so it's probably a fire hazard. Don't worry about it. Okay. But anyways, yeah, I was actually telling someone we were talking about just hanging out with you too much. I literally was telling someone at the coffee shop right before I got here that like they were asking what I was like prepping for, and I told them it was for this class, and then I was like, they were like, oh, an all ladies study, and I was like, yeah, and I was like, well, I was like, the guys, I have guy friends who I talk about spiritual things with, but honestly, the guys that I talk about this stuff with are like few and far between. I always actually find that it's the ladies who are ahead of the game when it comes to the spiritual discussions. But anyways, any prayer requests? I know Bruce has a procedure today. Anything else that you want to
My
bring up?
brother is not recovering from whatever this,
The flu? Yeah.
he's been running a fever, and
Oh,
I gave him an ultimatum, he goes to the doctor, he calls the doctor on Monday if he's not better.
okay.
It's not good.
How long has he been dealing with that?
Since last Friday.
Oh,
I can pinpoint it because he was driving me around to appointments that I had.
it's almost a week and he's still just, lesson. Anything else?
I have a second cousin, that just had cancer surgery on his tongue. And he's just having a really hard recovery. He's got the fever tooth, the trach.
What's his name?
Joey.
Joey.
And now he's gonna have 5 teeth taken out.
Mhm.
It's just a really horrendous journey. So,
Yeah, anything with the mouth, it's really complex. Okay, so Joey and your brother's name?
Danny.
Danny, Joey, Danny, Bruce,
And Amelia.
Amelia. Yes. And yeah, I just kind of made a connection when someone was telling me because Miss Linda and
Yes.
Miss Harwell, she was my librarian growing up. I
Uh,
was always
Linda, I love the way-
I was always tied with the librarians.
Yeah.
So yeah, through all my school years when I was in elementary, I was at high school. But so Amelia, right? Amelia, Joey, Danny, and Bruce. Anything else? I might be maxing out on my recent memory. So, but anything else for real? All right, then let's pray and we'll dive in for the study today. God in heaven, we thank you so much for this time and this place that we all are here together. We bring a few names before you at this time, those who are dealing with physical illnesses and different struggles at this time. Amelia is the complications with her pregnancy and the tumor, and we just pray that you make a way for her to come through all of this safely and be fully healed on the other side. We pray for Joey as well, as he's on the road to recovery, and we just pray that all of that goes well. We also pray for Danny, Jackie's brother, as he is dealing with this sickness and at any age, it's scary, and we know that it is something that has just been hard on a lot of people during this season of the flu. And we just pray that he is on the upward climb and that he gets the help that he needs and he is receives healing from that, Lord. We also pray for Bruce at this time as he's dealing with his procedure, and we just pray that it goes well and everything is brought through fine. He has a swift recovery with that. We also pray for anyone who isn't able to be here at this time, whether traveling or illness or any other things. We just pray that you bring them back to us safely. We thank you as well for your grace and your mercy, the ultimate healing that brings to our spirits and our hearts and our souls and our bodies. And we just pray, Lord, that we are all just, our sins are ever present before you and that you heal us all. Thank you for your Son, the one who is the grace that came down and brought that to us. In his name we pray. Amen. Okay, so it's been a minute because of the funeral 2 weeks ago, and then but when you miss 1 2-week study, it's like 4 weeks. So it's just the way it rolls sometimes. And so, per way of review, Revelation, 3 genres that we talked about, the book of Revelation. What 3 genres? Apocalypse.
History.
Prophecy.
Prophecy. And what's the first 2 chapters? Are letter. So prophecy, in that it is convicting, and we've been talking about this in the Wednesday night class. Prophecy is about convicting God's people to action. It's a provoking, trying to keep God's covenant. That's what prophecy does. A letter is a personal address to churches of the day. And then finally, we talked about apocalypse, which is probably the most unfamiliar and weirdest one. But apocalypse is primarily using what to communicate meaning? Symbols and imagery. And what is the primary source of those symbols? Where is it being drawn from? The Old Testament. And what was the fun fact? The average reference per verse to the Old Testament in the book of Revelation is 2 to 3 per verse. Yeah, nice. That's my favorite little fun fact. And so that's kind of, and I feel bad for Miss Susan, as I've been continually updating the reading list. She's had to have like 4 reprints, I think 4 or 5. That's not even an exaggeration. Where is my thing? I think I put it as a place marker here. But I was like, okay, this is the last one. I'm like, I'm not touching it again. I'm not touching it again. I will not touch it again. But this is just important. Like similar thing. This my strategy in the prophets class is like just saturating ourselves in the imagery and in the world and the imagination of the author, and in the like to get the images that he's communicating with. I do this like with all of the classes I teach, and so y'all are just getting a heavy dose of it because again, 2 to 3 references per verse. And so now this class on April the 16th, we're going to be talking about specifically chapters 6 through 10 of the Revelation and the opening of the scroll. Then a little bit more review here. So now we have our handy dandy chart, which I can't barely touch. Y'all have no idea how infuriating it was to get this like smoothed out. These magnets are so bad. And so like I would like place these over here, and I'd go to this side, and I'd place these, and then all those would fall down. And then I'd go back here, and I'd place these, and I'd start to place these, and then all of them would fall down. So it was really obnoxious. But what we've talked about is we went through this really fast, because I feel like this is probably the area people spend most of their time with when they study the Revelation, is the letters. But in that, what we have with the setup is Jesus being king over all of the cosmos. Like he is the glorified cosmic king. That's what John sees the vision of. And he's got a sword from his mouth. He's shining like the sun. He's got a gold band around his waist. And we talked about last class kind of that summary statement. And I had not too many adjustments to the wording of it, only grammatical errors. But we talked about how all of the kingdoms will crumble before the kingdom of heaven in Christ. And Jesus, our king, the Lamb, and the Lord of history, is returning to make all things new. And we, the followers of the Lamb, must persevere, walk wisely, and overcome. Remember that? That was our kind of paragraph summary of the book of Revelation. A couple adjustments we mentioned, and I'll just add them in here as well, is like his what was it? I think we were talking about, we mentioned God the Father, and how that's a key figure that like shows up in the story and on the throne is like the Father and the Son. And I kind of put an asterisk beside that because that's where it's kind of looped in there with his like sovereignty and kingship, because the Father and the Son, he talks about in the letters, are both sitting on the throne together. And then later we see the throne that the Father's on, we see the Lamb sitting on it. And so it's kind of like they're the two that are one. We got to kind of blend them in our imaginations. Oneness in being, and then like uniqueness in role. And Christ, who became like us, when we dive into this visionary world, Christ is the Lamb. Like he is the Lamb that was slain. And that's what we talked about in our second class. We kind of spent all of it right here, just like establishing the victory of the Lamb, the Lion Lamb. Because remember, John, he first heard what? What's the first thing he heard?
Trumpets.
Oh, yeah. So the first thing he heard said, he said that whenever he starts crying, and because no one can open the scroll, what does he hear? Oh?
David's,
Yeah. Oh, the son of David, the lion of the tribe of Judah, it has overcome, so it can open the seals. But then it said he turned and he looked, and what does he see? A slain lamb. And I have a kind of colored version of this that like, because the book of Revelation has a lot of colors too, right? I'm sure y'all noticed as you're reading. But like it's bleeding. Like it's when you slay a lamb, you're gonna cut its throat so that you can bleed it, and then you can offer it as a sacrifice and also butcher it for its meat. This is a slain lamb. Like it's like when you hear about the lion that's overcome, he looks and he sees a lamb that's slain. And then the lamb goes up to the throne, it takes the scroll out of the one on the throne's hand, and then it's like everyone just erupts in praise. And I made some like kind of like silly comparisons because remember, this is a story. Like this whole book, this whole vision has like an arc that's following, like a story arc. You have the call to adventure, you have the journey, you have the climax, you have the falling action, and then you have the conclusion. Like it's like this has a trajectory that we're moving on. And the setup is that there are the people of God, there's the king of the world, and they're being tempted to either, and we talked about two things, either assimilate with the Roman powers of their day, or, wait, now I'm drawing a blank. Oh my goodness. I just like, there it went. What was I going to say? Yes, thank you. You, gold star for the day. So they're being persecuted, or they're being called to assimilate back into the powers of Rome. Those are kind of the two things that are pressuring the people of God. And so then this whole story is like it's almost what we call in Jesus's story. It's like a parable. It's imagery, it's symbolism that's communicating and telling the story of the people of God, what was and is to come. And it's like communicating, like it's giving you hope. It's telling you about things that are scary, but you got to press through to get to the victory all the way here at the end in our last class, the happily ever after. So that's kind of the review before we dive into the specific chapters of today. Any comments or questions or thoughts or ponderings, deep meanderings on the intro review? Clear as mud? Wonderful. Okay, so there's stuff on the whiteboard. I don't want to erase that. I'm in this class sometimes on Sundays, like when I'm not teaching up there.
And you can't move that.
I can't move that or else all of it will fall down.
But you're not.
I'll take a picture and then just write it back up there.
or use a different color and just put it
Honestly,
in the
I might
white
not-
space.
I think I like that. I like the picture idea. I'm gonna do that. That's a great
You're
idea.
not gonna be in here Sunday, so.
They won't know who did
You
it.
know what?
There's just a giant drawing that I made on the board.
They're gonna be like,
Well, I was always worried that the ladies' class was going to erase my Revelation board whenever I was drawing it on
We
here.
were tempted.
No. All right, well, we're working with this space today. I hope you can see it over here on the screen. Maybe, kind of. Okay, there we go. All right, so the readings I had for y'all today that I think were relevant to the section of Revelation we're reading were Joel and Ezekiel. Ezekiel 3, Joel 1 and 2, and Ezekiel 3. So first off, this is not just about me giving you information. This is about learning. So like, what did y'all notice from Joel 1 and 2, along with the readings in Revelation 6 through 10?
Locusts.
Well done. Yes. Locusts. In Joel, what did you notice? Let's just talk about Joel. What was going on with those locusts? What was happening?
There were several different kinds of locusts, and they would not break rank. And they were going in through the windows,
They
and
would scare you.
Yes.
Read this and then go to
Yeah.
bed.
Oh, I hope y'all weren't doing these readings before your bed, or else y'all might have been having some prophetic dreams. But in Joel chapters 1 and 2, I used to love catching grasshoppers when I was a kid. I don't know why, but that was like my thing, was like getting grasshoppers, as many as I could, in a little container. I remember one time I took a grasshopper that I caught and I fed it to my dogs and I started crying. Because I was like, so, I don't know what I was thinking, but anyways, it just made me sad. But there's like, these aren't like our little, like, grasshoppers, that you see in your yard, or like crickets or something like that. Like locusts. Have y'all seen locusts before? Like y'all seen one of those boys? We used to have them every year in Florida, and I would be like landscaping, and then there's just a bush covered in these big boys, and it just kind of gives you heebie-jeebies.
I've only seen it on video,
Yes.
like a TV
Yeah.
or like I actually pulled one up when we were doing Exodus with.
Oh,
kids.
yeah?
Yeah, so that the
Uh-huh.
kids could see a swarm of locusts,
Mhm.
So you can Google it.
It's
and
like a
find
cloud.
out. Yeah.
It looks
yeah.
like
Yeah.
smoke.
Yeah.
And so it's like they swarm. They're a swarming entity, kind of like almost like bees. It's like they're like a hive mind that they just like whoosh across a field, and it can even like darken the landscape whenever it's like a real bad assimilation of locusts. And if you are a society, like, look, they didn't have like infrastructure, or like their economy wasn't like based off of technology back in this day, like they didn't have like fast food jobs. And even today, like, I mean, our whole economy is like based way down there, or way back in the line of production on farmers, like we still rely on farmers for food. And it's like, this is just the difference, the distance between farmers and the product is like way more separated today than it was back then. Like their whole society is based on agriculture. And so if you have a plague of locusts march across your land, like, what does that mean? It's like, and if you haven't stored up crops, like you're cooked, like you're done. Like this is what we would use in the modern term. The way we would use it in the modern day, it is apocalyptic in scale, right? And there I'm breaking my rule of how to use the word apocalypse. But it's like in our modern day, it's the end of your world, so to speak. And so here in Joel 2, Israel has been in rebellion, and this is the first book in the first minor prophet of this. Remember the 12 minor prophets? There's 12 of them. This is the second one. And so right here at the beginning is kind of establishing a pattern. Hosea was the first. He established the covenant and how they'd broken the covenant. And it's like a husband and wife relationship that's being broken. And then now the main thing that you read about in Joel is these locusts. And it says, look at Joel chapter 2 and verse 15. This is kind of the theme that Joel is establishing. He says, alas, for the day of Yahweh is near, and it will come as destruction from the Almighty. And so it's like, as this locust, this is all chapter 1. These locusts are like darkening the land, the gnawing locusts, and the creeping locusts, and the swarming locusts, and the skipping locusts. It's like all these different types are coming in through the land. And then chapter 2, it almost like it repeats the refrain. It says, blow a trumpet in Zion, make a loud shout on my holy mountain. Look at chapter 1. It's kind of like a call to action. It says, chapter 1, verse 2, hear this, O elders, give ear, all inhabitants of the land. It's like, has anything happened in your days or in your father's days? Like it's calling your attention. And then chapter 2 opens up the same way. Hey, blow a trumpet in Zion, make a loud shout. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of Yahweh is coming. Surely it is near the day of darkness and thick darkness, a day of clouds and dense gloom. And then we don't see locusts show up. What shows up in chapter 2? What do you see riding up over the hills and darkening the landscape? It's an army. And so locusts and armies have this interlocking relationship in the Bible. In fact, I made a note of it, I think, on my little worksheet here. No, I didn't, but it's in Proverbs where it talks about the locusts move forward in ranks even though they don't have a captain. And it's like, it's this locust armies. And then you also have, you've alluded to the book of Exodus, when God's executing judgment on Egypt, his armies are this plague of locusts. And then you also have in Judges chapter 6 and 7 in the story of Gideon, when the Midianites are coming upon the land. In Judges chapter 6 and verse 5, and in Judges chapter 7 and verse 12, it says they covered the land like locusts. And so these are all things that are happening before Joel. And then here in Joel, we've got chapter 1, locusts swarming. Chapter 2, it just flows right into an army marching up. It's like this plague of locusts that God sent on them at the beginning is then matched by the warning that, hey, this also means that there's an army that's going to be coming. Do y'all see how locusts and the armies are like kind of whoosh, like just blended together here in chapter or in chapter Joel 1 and 2? Yeah.
Something that Carol said reminded me, isn't there something in Exodus that talks about he'll send the locust if you're not obedient?
Yes, that's in you would have read it in the prophets class out there. Because that's one of, in Deuteronomy chapter 28 and 29, it was like one of the key moments when God's warning them about what if they don't heed his commandments and walk in his laws and keep his covenant, then they will be treated like Egypt. If they want to behave like Egypt, then they will be treated like Egypt. And so, where'd my black marker go? There it is. Okay, so in Joel 1, okay, I did the 1, and I thought that was a number 1 when I wrote it. And then in Joel 2, you have our little locust boy here. Just pretend it's a multitude of locusts. But then in the next chapter, you have the armies approaching. And in the mind of the prophets and also in the imagination of John, that God uses this image to like overlap, and the armies of locusts become this like symbol of God's judgment is essentially what we're getting to here. Whenever a man shows up on the scene who's the fulfillment of the prophets, he's like the last prophet of the old covenant. His name is John the Baptist. What does he eat? Locusts. And what else does he eat? Honey. Where is honey else? Where else is honey mentioned in the Bible? The land of milk and honey, the blessing of the promised land. That's like the key thing you should be thinking of when you think about honey, or the commandments of God that are sweeter than honey and the drippings of the honeycomb. So look, what does John have in his mouth? The blessing and the curse of the scroll. It's like he's eaten the commands of the covenant, the blessing and the curse. Y'all see that? It's very like, it's imagery. Tracking with it, because it's like in John's case, we've got, well, this will be John the Baptist here, and the Baptist, or the baptizer, it really should be, but anyways, and he has, and I'll draw another little locust over here in his mouth, and then also, there's a pot of honey. I've seen Winnie the Pooh. You know what a jar of honey looks like. That's our little honey dollop thing. There we go. These are in his mouth. I'm sorry if y'all can't see that over there, but thank you. That's a jar of honey for sure. Anyways,
aren't you going to put Ezekiel up there because it's the same thing in Ezekiel?
we're getting there. We're getting there, Jackie. Second. Okay. Go to Ezekiel 3. All right. let's look at Ezekiel 3. Now, what did y'all notice going on in Ezekiel chapter 3? What was the kind of the parallel? It's a pretty explicit one because it's the only other time in the Bible where someone is commanded to do this. What? Yeah, you munch on the scroll. You eat of it. And so in this scroll, look at the end though of chapter 2 of Ezekiel in verse 10. He spread it, the one who, let's start reading in verse 8 of chapter 2. Now as for you, son of man, listen to what I am speaking to you, and do not be rebellious like that rebellious house. Open your mouth and eat what I'm giving to you. And now what he's giving to him, or the one speaking and that's giving this scroll, is the one seated on the throne. Like this is the like presence of God here. Remember, we read Ezekiel 1 when we talked about this chapter, because it's this thunder, fiery, lightning, rainbow circled chariot that pulls up to Ezekiel and begins talking to him. And this is like the moment right after that. And so right here in chapter 2, let's now read verse 9. It says, and I looked, and behold, a hand was sent forth to me, and behold, a scroll was in it. And he spread it out before me, and it was written on front and back, and written on it were lamentations, sighings, and woe. Now, written on front and back, that's, again, a link right to chapter 5 of Revelation. That was the scroll in the hand of the one that's on the throne. It says it was written on the front and on the back. And so in this, let's try to, what do y'all make of that right now as we mush this together? Because the locust, the blessing, the curse in the mouth of John the Baptist, like he's consuming the law and the prophets. And then now we have, where should I put Ezekiel? See, this is the problem. I'm running out of space and now nobody's going to be able to see this. This will be Ezekiel over here. He's chilling over here. Ezekiel. And he is about to munch on a scroll that's being given to him. And that's what's going to go in his mouth. What thoughts on this? What are y'all thinking? Like, we're just kind of laying out all the images right now, but what's stewing?
But if you didn't know this and familiar with it, you're obviously going to think that what's written in Revelation is completely wacky.
Yeah, that's
Which
good.
is the whole purpose of
Yeah,
it.
this is the whole purpose of our study together, is to kind of start to bring a little bit of clarity from all this, is familiarizing ourselves with the images.
Well, I thought it was kind of strange that the scroll was sweet as honey and then it's sour in his stomach.
Yeah, it's bitter when it's like down here. That was me on Tuesday night. I enjoyed a good sandwich, and then I was like, whoa, too much in one go. Too much in one go.
It's like you're supposed to make the honey part of, or the scroll part of you. And it is sweet because it's given by God. But if you don't,
It also has a bitterness.
you get the bitterness because there is something beyond that.
Because remember what the people of God are enduring right now? The church is enduring intense persecution. Like there is a bitterness that is aligned with the suffering lamb. Like, how did the lamb overcome? How do you overcome?
He died.
By dying.
Yeah.
And so, like, part of what it means to be the people of God, and also, like, John's fulfilling a unique role right here, but there's a way in which John represents all of us too in this scene. Is like we are to eat of God's word, and when we take that in, it's sweet and it's bitter. It's like the sorrow and the joy, like intermingled in that. You look like you have a thought.
Yeah, I was just thinking about Jesus and
Mm-hmm.
that he said, except you eat of me, you know, you will have no part in me.
Mm-hmm.
So they're eating these words,
Mm-hmm.
and Jesus is the word.
Mm-hmm.
So
Both in the book of John. That's John chapter 6. Unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man, you will not have a life in you. He says, unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you will not have my life. And then how does John begin the entire book? What is Jesus called? The Word. And so there's the words that are written on this scroll on the front and back. The Word must be devoured. The Word must be eaten. And this is something that's been puzzling in my mind recently. I wrote an article on it. I think it was two weeks ago from Sunday. Was it this past Sunday? Sometimes the articles start to blur together in my mind when I wrote them. But it was the difference between observation and participation. Like, you can look, and there's a lot of people And even in the time of Christ, so like came, they saw who Jesus was, and like, wow, like this, what an impressive speaker. Like, wow, no man has ever taught like this man before. No one's ever spoken like this guy, or their minds are amazed by the miracles and signs and wonders that he's done. But then when it actually comes to participating in his mission and his project and becoming one with him or eating of him, what do? They're out. They're out. You can look at something and see that it's beautiful. You can come to church every Sunday and be like, wow, this is great stuff. If you're not actively ingesting and participating in this project, in this mission, in this like plans of God for the whole world, in the opening of the scroll and the work of the Lamb, like you're just sitting on the sidelines. It's like kind of, and what do we know about the sidelines is that they just kind of crumble into dust eventually. Like it's all, there's only one way. He is the way, the truth, and the life. This is also kind of, I mean, just this discussion is really starting to link up and clear up these ideas for me, myself as well. So I appreciate all y'all's thoughts on this. Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
I think that what it makes me start thinking about when you said, there's the good and the bad. You're the sweet and the bitter.
Yeah.
And just thinking about the next sections of the 3 groups of 7 things that are going on, and how that pattern is the same pattern that goes through there. It's, you've got the sort of gradation to the, terrible, awful things going on, and then, let's just have quiet for a while.
Yeah. Pause.
And then there's the good that comes from it. So you have this whole pattern that's going on in all of those sets of 3.
Yeah, in each of these, it's like you have to let evil do its worst. Like it's like there's this evil that's being poured out, and it's actually the evil that people have released onto the earth. Like it's actually us that creates evil. God doesn't create evil. What does God create? He creates good. So whatever evil is, it's a perversion to his creation that creatures that he has given free will to are bringing about in the world. And so it's like, that's something that we've set loose on the world that now God's dealing with. And so in that, you have to, it has to have its turn. It's like the pain and the suffering that's poured out. It's like, there's always like a scene in the movies where like the hero like takes a bunch of blows, before they like get up for like the final time, And that's kind of the 3 stages that we see here. Is like evil is going to do its worst, but ultimately it doesn't overcome. It can't. It's impossible. It's a perversion to God's good world. And so he's going to deal with it ultimately and finally. Right here in the middle is kind of the climax of the story where we see the ultimate victory, but then it's a cumulative victory all the way down here at the end where death and crying and everything, night itself is no more, gone away forever and ever. So yeah, good point. Okay, that's the images. That's Joel, that's Ezekiel, and we even were doing some bonus points like tying in John the Baptist, but also the writings of John and what Jesus says. It's like this is what you're supposed to be doing when you read this book. And then also Exodus. You brought up the Exodus as well. Any other passages that we haven't talked about that y'all want to bring into this discussion?
We talked about Deuteronomy.
Oh, we did talk about Deuteronomy.
Well, I just thought you might talk about the land is like the Garden of Eden before them, from Joel chapter 2.
Well, it's like the garden before them, and what does it look like behind them?
Desolation.
Yeah, it's like, imagine almost, I see like a combine harvester. I mean, that's doing something that's good, but the way that there's just this machine that's just mowing down everything in front of it, that's what this army is like. And so it's like, yeah, what God gave Israel, what God gives us is a land of blessing like Eden. Like he's trying to invite us back into Eden. That's the whole entire project of God. And then, but what we do is we create chaos and destruction that leads to the destruction of the good land that God gave us, the destruction of Eden and the desolate wilderness behind them. And so then the result of that, if y'all want to look in Joel 2, real quick, just since you brought it up, I didn't bring it up, someone else brought it up. It says that it's like, as you read in Joel 1 of the locusts plowing through, and then the army plowing through, leaving chaos and destruction behind them. It gets all the way to verse 12 or verse 11, where it says, look at the very last two lines of verse 11. The day of Yahweh is indeed great and very awesome. Who can endure it? And then verse 12, yet even now, declares Yahweh, return to me with all of your heart, with fasting and weeping and wailing. Tear your heart and not your garments, which is kind of saying like, look, don't just do it for show. The internal always supersedes and should precede the external. And he says, tear your heart and not your garments, and return to Yahweh your God, for he is gracious, compassionate, slow to anger, abounding in loving kindness, and relenting concerning evil. And who knows whether he will not turn and relent and leave behind him a blessing. Now, what was Eden before the armies turned into behind them? It was the Garden of Eden before the armies, and behind them it was what? Desolation. Yahweh, desolation in front of him. What does he leave behind him? Blessing.
Blessings.
Yeah. And so it's like he sprouts Eden behind him. The desolation and chaos in front of him, he turns it into Eden and blessing behind him. And so it's the reversal of that. And ultimately that leads to, well, the rest of chapter 2 is just blessing and wonderful and hopeful how God's going to bring back and restore his people. And then afterwards, even after all this, verse 28, he will pour out his spirit on all humanity. And your sons and your daughters will prophesy, your old men will dream dreams. It's looking forward to the day when God's presence is shared amongst everyone. And that's, this is what Peter quotes from at a day of Pentecost, whenever the Spirit is poured out before everyone there. And the kingdom bursts forth. Okay, sorry, good comment. But I want to, dive into the revelation now. So we did intro, we did the images. Does anyone have any other comments on any, not like, passages we talked about, but are there any other ones you're like, oh, this reminded me of this and that from the story of the Bible? Anything else?
Well, I had, just before I came in, I started thinking, I just sit in the car and write this down so I wouldn't think of it. But all of the different ways the number 7 is used in, and if you look at the patterns with each one of these, it's so much like the creation and those days, how much comparison it is with the pattern of these 7 seals, for example, the 7 pair of clean animals, 7 days that he had to wait for the floodwaters to come, the 7 days between releasing the birds, 7, God promised 7-fold vengeance on anyone who harmed Cain in Genesis, the 7 trumpets as they marched around the No, as they marched around
in Jericho.
They marched around 13 times, but the 12 and then the 13th time the walls fell. Then the 7 priests blew 7 trumpets made of ram's horns. These are just brainstorming, so I know there's so many more. Naaman had to dip 7 times. 7 years of dreams of Pharaoh. 7 lamps and feasts in the tabernacle. Just sitting there thinking about that and how it opens up your understanding of this book so much.
1,
7,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. When you think about, we could do a whole class on the number 7. We could do multiple classes on the number 7. But what is the first thing that should come to mind when you think about the number 7? Creation. What was God doing on page 1 of the Bible? He was creating a good place to dwell God and man together. What's another name for a building or a place where God and humanity meet? Tabernacle, temple. High fives all around. Good stuff. And so what you see happening here is the construction and the completion of God's ultimate temple.
The number 7 is a complete number, so
Yes.
that's what I always think of when I see 7. I'm like, he's talking about something that's complete.
Do I have this noted in my Bible? Let me check. Wait, it's in the notebook I have over here. We're just going off the cuff here, but I have a little have a little thing here. I know it's in here because I nerded out with my younger brother on this one time. Unless I gave him the page, which I totally might have. There's a whole outline of Genesis 1. Hevel, Ecclesiastes lesson. This is the one I did here one time. What? Hello? As you can see, I'm a very organized person. Aha. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Where? No. Everything's so. Oh, that's because there's a page. Aha. Okay. We got it. So the number 7 or 7th in Hebrew is Sheva. I'm going to leave all this stuff up here for my friends who can't see it over there in the corner. I apologize. We'll leave it up so y'all can check it afterwards. But Sheva in Hebrew is written with these 3 base characters. And then a little weird boy like that. That is the word 7th. Sheva. The word for complete or full. So I'm just going to do the word complete since that's what we've been using. Complete is the word Saba. And guess what? It's spelled with the same 3 base characters. Now there's little like dots and things that is how you know to pronounce them differently, but it's the same. This is why we get that idea. Is that 7 means complete? Is because in Hebrew it's literally written with the same letters. Like if you just squinted your eyes and you just didn't notice the little pronunciation marks, it's literally the same word. And so it's the completeness, it's the fullness. Now I avoid the word perfect because like in my mind, perfect is a little stagnant, like it's a little more frozen in time. But this is the completion. Because when something's complete, like when you say a car that's been on the assembly line is complete, does that mean there's nothing left to do with it?
No, it's just put together.
No, it's put together. It can now actually do what it's made to do. That's what biblical completeness means. And so, because what we're going to see all the way down here after all these cycles of 7 and these units of 7, the 7s and 7s and 7s and super 7s, as we get down here to the end, this is not the end. It's the beginning. It is complete, and it's actually the beginning. It's like God is finally able to do with us what he wanted to do with us from the beginning of time. And it says, and they, what's it? And they what? Forever and ever?
Live forever and ever.
Come on. Revelation 22, verse 5. Night will be no more. They will see his face, and his name will be on their foreheads, and they won't thirst anymore.
They won't have day or night.
No, there will be neither any light of lamp or light of the sun, for the Lord God will be their light, and they reign forever and ever. Guys, lock that in, guys. Like that's like the beginning and the end of the Bible. They reign forever and ever. That's what we're made to do, and that's where we're going. That's where we came from, and that's where we're going, and that's also where you're at. So it's what was and is to come. There it is. Okay, that was a fun tangent, and I think it's important to note all of this with this book because again, 777's all over the place. But let's, with the remaining time, which is only about 14 minutes here, I want to look. We spend a lot of time on all this because I'm trying to emphasize what I think is the strangest part, and this will help enlighten this, and then this enlightens this. And so it's important to spend time on all the things we've been saying so that then when we dive in here, I think it actually makes it more of a walk in the park. It's not a walk in the park, it is Revelation. But it's like, it makes it a little easier. It's like an uphill hike. It's an enjoyable hike. But anyway, so let's start talking about chapters 6 through 10 here. So chapter 6 is right after chapter 5. Very good. And in chapter 5, we left with the scroll about to be opened, and now it is beginning to be opened. And all these seals start to break forth. And what's the first 4 seals? Who pops up? Classic, very classic Revelation image. The 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, as they are called so famously. But where did we see those guys in the Old Testament? We talked about this already. Y'all remember? In what book? What prophet?
Didn't I say it?
Keep trying. Starts with a Z.
Zechariah.
Zechariah. We looked at the visions. Do y'all remember what the horses represented? It was like God, look, he sent out the horses to like scout over the earth. And they came back telling him what? That everything is quiet. And was God happy or unhappy with that? He was unhappy because that means that all of the kingdoms of chaos are able to rest. And you don't want chaos to be resting because it's actually just waiting to explode. Something needs to be done with the injustice that all those kingdoms have brought about against his people. And so now it's kind of like we're seeing that enacted in these horsemen as they're going out and they're bringing about God's justice through pestilence and plague and famine and all these terrible things. Then you have seal number 5, open up, and you have the martyrs cry out. And then you have number 6, which is like the shaking of the earth and the darkness, a lot of stuff from Amos. The sun darkness, the moon is, stars falling from heaven is going, everything's going crazy. And they're like, the day of the Lord, the day of God's wrath. Who can stand before the wrath of the Lamb? And then what do we see here in chapter 7? Is suddenly the scene shifts. And you notice this in the first 2 patterns. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then a break. And then the 7th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, break, and then the 7th. And when we see the scene shift into chapter 7, the very famous scene of the 144,000, right? This is one that I'm sure many of us have heard about before. And our dear friends, Jehovah's Witness, take it very, very literally. But as you can all know, numbers in the book of Revelation, are they literal? No. What numbers have we seen that have been literal so far? Nothing. And so here we see 144,000. Literally, it's like in the text, it would be like 144,000s. Okay? Make sense? Like it's like you have 144,000s. Like it's literally what it's saying in the Greek. And then whenever you get to like, when that's broken up, you have like, you have 12,000 from this tribe, 12,000 from this tribe, 12,000 from this tribe. It would be like you're saying 144,000. It'd be like you're reading that in Greek and it's like you're saying 12,000s. So it's like these numbers in the language itself are very separated. And so it's like 12 and 1,000, 144 and 1,000.
12,000 thousands?
No, just 12,000. But think of it as like it's 12 thousands. Like it's like I got 1,000 and I've got another 1,000. I got another. It's 12 thousands. I'm trying
I
to.
remember reading that for each, I don't know if I got ahead of the game, but I remember that there were 12,000 for each tribe.
Yes. 12. That's what we're talking about right here.
Yeah, but
Because it's 144,000 and then there's 12 tribes. So 144 is what? 12 times 12.
oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Oh, okay.
And so we got 12 times 12. Now, where else have we seen 2 sets of 12? Around the throne, there were how many thrones? 24. In all of these locations, there are 24. I counted them every time I drew it. The 24 thrones of the elders. And remember what does the number 12 represent?
There's the apostles.
The apostles, and before them, the 12
Tribes.
tribes, which is about the covenant people of God. And it's like, the old and the new. Think of like Jew and Gentile now combined as one. The fullness of God's promises, the family of God is brought together. And now here, we've got all of this 144,000, 12,000 from the 12 tribes. What should be clicking in my mind from the start is 12 times 12. I've got another set of 2 12s and a lot. So 1,000 just means a lot. That's a big number. It's the biggest number. Well, not the biggest, there's 1,001, but like whatever. And so we've got covenant family of God, really big. And so that's what John hears. Like, look at this. Look at Revelation chapter 7. Revelation chapter 7 and verse 4. It says, "And I heard the number of those who had been sealed, That's those who are like stamped to be protected from the outpouring of all these judgments. He heard the number. Having been sealed, 144 sealed from every tribe of the sons of Israel. Judah, 12,000, Reuben, 12,000, and so on and so forth. Look at verse 9. It says, after these things I did what? I beheld. I looked. Y'all notice that same pattern again? Remember in chapter 5? He heard the lion of the tribe of Judah is overcome, and he turns and he looks, and what does he see? A lamb that's been slain. He hears 144,000 of the tribes of Israel, and he turns and looks, and what does he see? A multitude of what? Just Israelites? Every nation, every tribe, peoples, tongues, and what are they doing? They are standing.
Crying salvation with a loud voice.
Do you remember the last question in chapter 6? Who can stand on the day of God's judgment? And now what do we see? A great multitude of the Lamb's army standing before the throne and the Lamb. These are the ones who can stand. These are the ones who can endure. This is the whole family of God, his armies and that are ruling in the heavenly places, that he's made to be a kingdom of priests to God Most High. Like this is them. It's all of us, I would argue, to say as well. This is the church. This is the fullness of the family, the assembly of God. And here they are standing before the throne and before the Lamb. Does that make sense, you guys? How y'all doing?
So it just takes like a little moment. Of course, he didn't take a chapter, but we've got a chapter. It takes a little intermission to explain what he's talking about.
Yeah. It's like you've got the judgments being poured out, but then it's like, hey, remember though, the Lamb's won. These things might be crazy. The Lamb's been victorious, and you share in the victory of the Lamb. And then after the seventh seal is broken, any other comments on chapter 7? Sorry, I mean, I know this is a kind of one of those weird chapters that people talk a lot about, but we're just kind of breezing on through.
Back at the white horse, I thought it was interesting that he has no arrows.
Oh,
Only
yeah.
has the bow.
Mhm.
That it just, and so I'm trying to think of what does a white horse represent? Is that representing Christ? Because the Lamb is the one that's giving this information.
Yeah.
So it's not Jesus representing.
I think it's linking us back to the Zechariah passage. Because remember, it was one of those horses was white back there, and one was sorrel, and one was red, and one was black. And it's kind of, I think that's the link, but you do make a good point. It's interesting. White is usually associated with Christ throughout all this, and the saints.
And then the fact that, we don't, the battle isn't flesh and blood.
Yeah.
It's not, we don't have the arrows to fight with. We have the word to fight with.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that's what we'll see. I mean, we saw it here, because where did the sword come from Jesus? Is it in his hand? It's in his mouth. It's his mouth is the sword. The word is the sword that he uses to wage war. And then also here in the center, the ones who overcome by the blood of the Lamb, the word of witness, and they did not love their lives to the end. They loved God. So, but yeah, good comment. Good comment. So then we have the seventh seal opened, and that's where you got the silence in heaven for a span of about half an hour. And then it's where we kind of, we open up the next phase. Because do you notice how the 7 trumpets are then passed out after the 7th seal is broken? So it's like you kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, rest, 7, and then you open up into another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, rest, and then 7. And that's where we're going to kind of bring it to a close here. But you have the 7 trumpets, and then this is chapter 8, is really where you get the 7 trumpets being sounded and alarmed. And this is where you really see all that Joel imagery. And I just think it's helpful to kind of remember how these images are used throughout the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament, because we see a locust army in the 5th trumpet, right? All these, then they're crazy. I mean, it's like a super locust. Like this is like, it's freaky. This is stuff that they'll be screaming about on the World of Tomorrow after Chuck's program in the morning. which is like these locusts that come up from the earth. Oh, and look at verse 3 of, we're in Revelation chapter 9 now. Look at Revelation chapter 9. I think I said 8 earlier, but it's all kind of 8 and 9 are all of the trumpets. So look at chapter 9 and verse 2. It says that this angel opened up the pit of the abyss, and smoke went up out of the pit like the smoke from a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by the smoke of the pit. And then it's like that smoke, out of it comes the locust. So it's almost like, we talked about how wispy the locust swarms look. It's like a super locust swarm that like blots out the sun, and it begins to descend out of the pit, or ascend and then descend. And the locusts, they don't do anything to the people who have the seal of God, which are the 144,000 here. But then it says they have hair like women and teeth like lions, and they have breastplates of iron, and their wings sound like chariots, and they have tails of scorpions. And it's very, very frightening. Like it's like crazy super locust swarm. So it's like we've taken Joel's words and we've like turned up the volume. Because this is the capstone of the Bible, you guys. Like this is like all of the things are being tied together and woven together to tell this grand narrative of God's history and his work in the world. And then chapter 9, verse 13, the sixth angel sounded, and then you have this voice booming from the altar, and it's released from the great river Euphrates. Did anybody in verse 16? It's these 4 angels, and then from the river comes this massive army. That's in verse 14. Verse 16. The number of the armies of the horsemen was 200 million, and I heard the number of them. And then they had horses, and they sat on them, and the riders had breastplates of fire and brimstone, and the heads of the horses were like heads of lions, and out of their mouth comes fire and smoke and brimstone. Like this is that frightening stuff that we were talking about like way back when introing the book. Like this is like spooky stuff. But remember, like when you're watching Sleeping Beauty, there's always the scene where it like cuts to the plotting evil witch in her tower, and like the animation's always darker, and like the fire is green, and like it's creepy shadows. It's like that's the moment we're at right now. Evil is being poured out. It's God's judgment and justice. It's being poured out on the earth, and it's chaotic. It's scary. It's tumultuous. But the people of God, they will be brought through. And do you notice how the plague is of locusts, and then it's of armies? You see that? It's the same thing that happened in Joel chapters 1 and 2. It's just those things are interlocked and interlinked. And all of this, if we're going to just boil it down to one thing, is the plagues are being poured out. It's that tumultuous bitterness, but then the victory of God is just constantly reminded that God has overcome, the Lamb has overcome, and those who follow him, follow the Lamb, will also be victorious and be brought through this. Those who are sealed of God. And this is not like the hard-hearted resistors. This is those who are surrendered to the Lamb. And so if you've surrendered to the Lamb, like there's nothing to be afraid of. Like this isn't a book that's meant to make you terrified. It's a book that's meant to bring you comfort. But like God has already created the way to victory and the path of life. And we're 1 minute over, but we started a little late too. That was also my fault on that too. But anyways, does anyone have any closing thoughts or comments? I'm fine with picking up. I'll mention chapter 10 in a second, but we'll pick up there next time. Just do the readings on this, because I kind of debated on where to put 10, either with this section right here or with the section that comes after it. So it's fine if we discuss it next time. But does anyone have any closing thoughts or comments? Yes, question?
What about, you've got all of these numbers, what about 4? The 4 is mentioned so many times. Is that like, I think of the 4 corners of the world with north, south, east, west maybe, or whatever, but that it's a completion of the whole thing? Is that what it's about?
So in Exodus 34, 6 and 7, this is the quickest and easiest example I can think of. When it refers to God's ultimate justice, where he says that God is God revealing his character and his nature. These verses are the most referenced verses in the Bible by the Bible. Like this shows up, we read this passage actually in Joel chapter 2, when it says, God, a God merciful and gracious, slow to anger, overflowing in steadfast love and faithfulness, keeping steadfast love to the 1000th generation, but will by no means, or forgiving iniquity, transgression, and sin, but will by no means clear the guilty, visiting the iniquity of fathers on the children and on the children's children to the 3rd and to the 4th generation. And that phrase to the 3rd and to the 4th is kind of similar to 7, is like completion, which again, 7 is also 3 plus 4. And so that's one idea that I think is connected with the 4, is it's kind of like a good stopping point. It's another kind of like, in their imagination, a completion point, like a place of.
So could
Good deal.
you take that and say, like, those horsemen, when the one that brought peace, that was the whole piece, that was all the peace he's given out. I mean, it's done at that point, so,
Oh, they weren't bringing peace. They were shaking things up.
okay.
Yeah.
But the things that they were doing
Mm-hmm.
was the topic that they were, whatever that they had, each one of them.
Yeah.
Was like a completion of giving us all that we need to know.
For that section of the book, I would say yes. But remember, there's a percentage, I guess you could say, or a fraction number that keeps showing up. It says only a 4th of so and so, only a 4th. And then in the play or in the trumpets, you see only a third now, a third. So it's kind of like, yes, that is, they're doing their complete job is one way you could see it, is like you just said, but only in their limited capacity.
But the 4th of what? All the people or just
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Christians?
It's the ones who aren't the sealed of God. There's the ones who this stuff is being poured out on. And so it's like, in their day, it would have been the ones who are actively persecuting them. It's like, hey, justice is coming for them, and God will bring about the end of at this time, it was either Christians being persecuted by the nation of Israel during that day or by Rome itself. Again, like I've said, we're not going to dive into those specifics, but whoever it was, the oppressors will get their justice. God will pour out on them. And what you can find is they're like, who can stand? Who can stand? You guys can stand. So, yeah. Jackie, did you have a comment or a question?
Verse 6 of chapter 9, I think is one of the most frightening things I've ever read.
Oh.
In those days shall many seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire death, and death shall flee from them.
Oh, let me emphasize this before we close. I'm very sorry, but you remind me of that with this. Even though it's so terrible, even though it's so traumatic, look at the end of chapter 9, the very last verse, verse 21. Chapter 9, verse 21. It says, they did not repent of their murders, nor of their sorceries, nor of their sexual immorality, nor of their thefts. It's like, these are not the like innocent guys. Like these are the, to use a very visceral example of our day, these are the Jeffrey Epsteins of their day. These are the abusers. These are the murderers, the persecutors, the sadistic deriving pleasure from crushing people under their thumb. Like that's who this is talking about. It's that sort of ilk. And they see all of this terrible things happening to them. And the point is that it doesn't change their hearts. It's like, well, terrible things happen. They wish for death and they're like, nah, we're all good. So.
That was my point I was going to say.
Oh, sorry. The last verse.
Yes, that.
Yeah. Okay, great.
There was a reason all this suffering is happening. It's to allow them, hopefully, to be able to repent.
But they don't.
They don't.
They don't. And we're going to see that kind of crop up a couple other times too. All right. That's all from me for now. All right. Thank you all.
You do a lot of studying.
We do try.
It's in chapter 9 where it has